Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're doing fantastic. We got Ginzburg. She's a digital marketing expert, and she is promoting her new book, which is Win New Customers: How to Attract, Connect, Convert More Prospects into Customers in 60 Days Using Digital Marketing Strategies. If you're a new entrepreneur or new to digital marketing, this is the book for you. Listen to the whole episode at the end. Jean lets you know how you can download her book for free for listening to this podcast. On top of being an author, she's also a consultant, and a typical engagement looks like about 3 months of work for about $5,000. There's a ton of takeaways here. I hope you guys enjoy the episode.
This is Ryan Estes. Thanks for listening to the Talklaunch podcast, Velocity, Business Intelligence. This is a podcast about founders of business, what it took to launch, and what keeps them on top. Search Ryan Estes and subscribe to the podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, there's a couple ways you can help us out. You could share an episode with a friend. You could reach out to us on Instagram at Talklaunch. Or you could support us by supporting our sponsors. Hope you enjoy the show.
Hey, what's up, everybody? How is March treating you? I hope you're doing fantastic. I hope your family is full of sun rays and rainbows. We have a fantastic guest for you today. We have Jean Ginzburg from the Ginzburg agency, and she's going to talk about her new book. It's called Win New Customers. From first glance at the website here, Ginzburg is a full-service digital marketing agency. Welcome, Jean. Absolutely. We're kin folks there. I also have a digital agency, so I'm always in the market for new tips and tricks, and also to see what's working for other people, so we can share that not only with my products, but also with our customer products. Before we get going, today's podcast is brought to you by CareerFunded.com. CareerFunded.com provides a platform for crowdfunding for working capital, for working people. Check out CareerFunded.com. So, Jean, tell me about the book and what people can take away if they pick up this book.
Absolutely. So the book is called Win New Customers: How to Attract, Connect, and Convert More Prospects into Customers in 60 Days Using Digital Marketing Strategies. And the book is really a compilation of the strategies that have worked for my private clients over the last 5 years that I've had my agency. I cherry-picked a lot of things and left a lot of things that I felt like, might not work for entrepreneurs. But basically, it's a big wealth of information, in my opinion, when it comes to using these strategies, engage with a client, and our target market is, then we would do a survey, which would include email and calling current customers and identifying who they are, why did they buy, what were their pain points before they bought, how has our Crystal's product solved those pain points and challenges that they had. So identifying the target market, I would say, is half the battle when it comes to marketing. And all of the times when people come to me or businesses come to me and they're like, oh, my marketing is not working, a lot of times it comes back to either not identifying your true market, or messaging is also another, like inconsistent messaging across your content or across your marketing materials. So first thing would be identifying your target market. Then after that, we would want to create a what we call a product strategy. So after that, then we can create a product strategy where we send them to higher price point products. And I think that's important because we don't want to scare people off with a very
business would your ideal customer be?
Sure. So I've created my target market already, and I'm pretty familiar with it, I think. But I work with entrepreneurs on small to medium-sized businesses, typically with at least a couple $1 million in revenue, at least $1 million in revenue. And I I would say that's my ideal target market, and they're looking to grow their business using digital marketing, or they're looking to revamp their current processes and kind of take it away from the manual process and an automated process using digital marketing platforms. So I'd say that would be my ideal target market.
Sure. Are you doing, as far as the agency side, are you doing strategy or do you do fulfillment as well?
So it's actually both options. So I do consulting for my clients sometimes, where I just come in with the strategy and the plan and then their team executes. Or we also have a full service agency where we do the strategy and the execution for the campaigns.
Nice. And what kind of, do you see trends at let's say at 1 million annual revenue, they're probably working with an agency that's doing some marketing automation, maybe some social. What point do you typically see businesses bring that into an in-house position where now they're going to maybe hire a full-time digital marketing associate? Would that be like 3 to 5 million when they're starting to ready to bring that inside? And maybe what are the benefits of hiring an agency versus hiring somebody yourself?
Sure. I would say for hiring someone in-house, a first marketing person would probably be like a mid-level marketing person. So maybe like a coordinator or a manager. And I think at that point, the company is probably at a couple $1 million because they can afford to hire a full-time person who's at a mid-range career point and pay them a salary. In terms of, and previously, typically they work with some sort of consultant or an agency before they can hire like a mid-range employee for full-time for marketing. In terms of the difference or the benefits, it's I think there's a couple of, there's pros and cons, I would say, to everything. When it comes to agencies, I think they have a lot of experience with different clients, so they can bring a lot of ideas to the table. But let's say if you hire an employee, like a manager, then that marketing manager knows the brand very well, knows the ins and outs of the brand. So I sometimes think that having a combination of the two works, which is what one of the products or services that I offer is having me come in as a consultant and bring in the ideas, but then having a marketing manager working with a marketing manager to execute on those ideas and those strategies because they know the brand really well.
You bet. What's the conflict there like? Are people receptive to you in-house if they're like, who's this Gene character coming around here making more work for me?
Well, they're receptive, I think. But I think also coming in with a message of like, hey, I'm not here to take over your job or I'm not here to fire you, is really kind of the idea is that I'm not here to take over anybody's job. I'm here to help and I'm here to bring in the big ideas and then have that marketing manager put those ideas into action.
Cool. So what would an average engagement look like for you on a consulting basis? Or is that a 3 to 6 month project? And maybe what's kind of a range of cost of service?
Sure, absolutely. So we start our typical entry level service would be it'd be 3 months, and it would be 1 full day. So 3 full days of consulting. So it'd be one time a month. So it'd be 1 day for the first month, 1 day for the next month, and so on and so forth. So for 3 months, we have 1 full day. And then we also have in between those, the other 2 weeks, the other months, we have a call for like an hour. So we're doing so we start off with 1 day, and then 2 weeks later we do a call, and we do another full day 2 weeks later. So that's kind of the idea is we want to flush out all of the concepts. We want to bring in the ideas into the business, and then we want to have that marketing person executing on those ideas in the first month. And then after that, after the 3 months are over, they can continue on working with us, or if they feel like, they have a pretty good handle, that's usually where the service ends. So it's a 3-month engagement typically.
Cool. And what would somebody expect to pay for the 3-month engagement?
Yes, absolutely. So our typical fees are $5,000 for the whole project. So for the 3-month engagement.
Cool. Nice. Now, if you wanted to do the fulfillment of some of the work for a smaller business, let's say someone just hit $1 million revenue, they're trying to ramp that up to 1.5 in 2018. what would be maybe like a good package that they might want to consider if you're going to kind of prioritize digital services? Which would you want to get somebody into first?
In terms of full service agency or consulting?
Yeah, the agency. So you're going to do the strategy, but you also do the fulfillment.
Yes, absolutely. So we do that also with our clients, and for that, it's a month-to-month project. So we typically have have an agreement with our clients that it would be the first 6 months would be ongoing. So we would be a 6-month project, and then after that they can do month to month, because what we found is that we can't really see results in the first couple of months, because we're just creating a lot of the upfront work that needs to go into it, like, for example, creating your ideal target market, creating a communication strategy, creating your brand and your messaging if you don't have a brand at this point. So a lot of that, before you can even start running any campaigns, we have to do all of that work, which typically takes a month or two before we could even start running, a Facebook ad or a Google AdWords ad. So typically our initial engagement is a 6-month engagement. And so the first couple of months is doing like the due diligence, identifying everything within your target market, your branding, your messaging, and then using that to then put that into actually running campaigns and running media.
Cool. Gene, how did you get into this kind of business?
Oh my goodness, I've been here for 11 years. It just happened in February. And I started off in marketing. Before that, I did a couple of years of just being a general marketing coordinator, and then got into digital marketing 11 years ago. I just worked up through the ranks, and then 5 years ago decided to start my own agency.
What was that transition like? How did you make that transition?
To doing my own thing? Yes, I for a while wanted to do something on my own. It's just, I've always had the entrepreneurial spirit, and I thought I could work better with clients one-on-one versus going through an employer, as I was doing before I started my own thing. I worked at an agency, and I felt, hey, I could totally do this much better on my own. So the transition was actually pretty smooth in the beginning, because what happened was I quit my full-time job and I became a consultant for one company. So it kind of was almost like a full-time job, but I was a consultant for them. So it wasn't like anything crazy, because I was already doing that, but it was just slightly different. I had to learn a few things about, doing my quarterly taxes and creating an LLC and things like that. But there was, good learning experiences. But then I realized, hey, having one client is not a very sound strategy if you want to keep afloat and keep in business. So sure. I decided that it's time for me, I think about 8 months into it, into this for one consulting client, I decided, hey, I need to diversify and get more clients. So that's kind of how the agency began as well.
You bet. And how do you get clients?
Good question. So a lot of it comes from word of mouth, referrals, but also I use social media quite a bit to get clients. So I'm pretty active on social media, especially on LinkedIn. I have almost 11,000 connections on LinkedIn. So I get inquiries from that pretty often, and find a lot of clients using LinkedIn. It's been a pretty good platform for me. No
kidding. Ads are just kind of organic engagement.
Organic engagement and just making connections with people on LinkedIn. Yeah, I don't really, I haven't run too many ads, I have to say. I know that everybody's like, hey, you should use your own strategies. Whereas my strategies are more for like B2C clients. Although I do work with B2B clients, using Facebook for my type of business, I don't know if that would be as beneficial. If you're looking to get, if you're in this kind of high-end service industry. So for me, LinkedIn has worked pretty well.
You bet. Referrals is most businesses, it's either word of mouth or referrals, like 80 or 90%. Do you do anything specific or encourage people to do anything specific to leverage or to encourage those kind of referrals and even reviews?
I do. I think one of the things that is, I think is the simplest thing is that I think a lot of times people don't even ask for the referral, and I make sure to ask for it. So if I'm talking to someone in my industry or talking to a colleague, at the end of the call, I'd say, hey, if that ever comes across your desk, if here's my ideal customer, if you ever see that, I would love a referral from you. So I think just asking is the first step to it. And I also have typically a referral fee. So if somebody refers a client to me, I only get a percentage of the first month of the first month of service fees. So yeah, I try to make it a little bit lucrative, but I think asking is really the first step.
Yeah, it's wild how many people are afraid to ask, right?
Yep, exactly. It's I know that it seems like it's an obvious thing to do, right? Like we should all ask, but then a lot of times people don't.
Totally. The book. Where do you sell the book, and how does that is the book basically a loss leader for to create a client relationship, or is it kind of a regular revenue stream?
I'd say it's more of a loss leader. Yeah, it's more for getting my name out there and creating authority in my expertise in my field. So people can buy it on Amazon. If you just go to Amazon and type in "win new customers," anybody can buy it on Amazon. And also, I'm giving away the book for free to your audiences. So if you, we can talk about that at the end of the show. But I have a link that I can share in the show notes for everybody who wants. It's a free. It's not going to be a physical copy. It's going to be a PDF version of the book, but same message in there. So anybody who's listening to the show, absolutely, please go ahead and check it out.
Cool. We'll include that in the liner notes where you can find the episode, talklaunch.net/podcast. We'll be sure to have Gene's book there. Did you do an audiobook version?
I have not, but people have asked me about that. So right now it's a Kindle version. It's a physical version. So, you can have it printed. I can have it printed on Amazon and shipped to you, or and then the third would be the audio, but it's not available yet. The audiobook.
You got to do the audiobook.
Really? Why do you say that?
Says the podcast guy. I just live and breathe audiobooks. Like to me, it's like the most amazing distillation and dissemination of information there is. And I got 2 kids, I run a business, multiple products that I'm out here peddling, doing podcasts or whatever. And, the idea of sitting down to read, although super romantic, it's just not real. I basically run a million miles an hour until I collapse in bed at the end of the day. So all those transition periods, giving all these opportunities to listen to books. Plus, with a book, you can put it at 1.5, 2x speed. And so you just consume at this ridiculous rate.
I don't disagree. I absolutely, I consume audiobooks all the time myself. I'm actually on a mission the beginning of this year and have been doing that. And I've probably gone through, 10 books already. So I can't agree with you more. I just need to get into it and actually get, someone to read, to do the audio book itself, like, an announcer, and then, go through the whole process of putting it on Amazon. So absolutely, that's definitely on my list of things to do.
Get on it, Gene.
Yeah.
Jeez, you're slacking. Just kidding.
I know, I'm terrible.
No, that's cool. So what are some business books, or maybe other books too, that you would recommend that have been kind of instrumental in your career?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I'm actually can go through the books that I just have been reading over the last couple of months. One of my favorite books is by Dale Carnegie, and it's called Win New Friends and Influence People. And I think that's if you're an entrepreneur, or if it doesn't matter who you are, I think everybody should read that book because I think it's absolutely amazing. A couple of books that just stand out that I've read so right now I'm actually reading Robert Cialdini's Influence book. So that's so far I think I've gone to an audiobook. Maybe I think I'll do the first 30 minutes. So it's been great so far, and I would highly recommend it. I read a book called Mindset by Carol Dweck, and it talks about your mindset and how to work on that. I'm trying to think which other books I've been reading recently that have made an influence on me. I started reading a book by Daniel Pink called To Sell is Human, and he's the guy that does Drive. So that was a really good book too. So I'd highly recommend those.
Cool. Do you ever have time for fiction or non-business related nonfiction?
No, I don't ever. I don't know the last time I read a fiction book, honestly.
I know. I tell you what, that's something that I'm like, man, I need to dive into like fantasy or science fiction or something. I've been going so hard into like some really heady material. It's like I'm like fatigued, I suppose that's what podcasts are good for. Podcasts are a little bit lighter. Oftentimes there's a lot of great information, but there's also a lot of nonsense in there. So it kind of gives your brain an opportunity to relax.
I agree. Yeah. And I do listen to podcasts as well. But I have to say I've been on a kick for audiobooks the last couple of months. So it's been definitely positive for me.
Do you have a favorite podcast?
Well, besides yours, of course.
Oh, thank you. Of course.
Let's see which podcasts do I listen to? So I listen to Digital Marketer has a podcast called Perpetual Traffic. I've listened to that. I like John Lee Dumas podcast, EO on Fire, Entrepreneur on Fire. That's a pretty good one too. So yeah, there's a few that I usually listen to the TED Talks as well, because they're also on your iTunes, so you can get them there pretty easily. So I like those as well.
Totally.
So yeah, I have a few that I like.
Nice. I just I ripped through Jordan Peterson's new book. It's like 12 Rules to Live By or something. I went through it twice, and I think that's why I'm fatigued. You familiar with Jordan Peterson?
No, I'm not.
He kind of most recently received some notoriety because he was on some Canadian news channel and just absolutely slaughtered this poor woman. Well, I shouldn't say poor woman. She was basically trying to pin him down, and you do that thing that news does, which is put words in your mouth and make you on your heels. And he just destroyed her argument. So that kind of put him in the news recently, but he's a clinical psychologist, and he's a pragmatist, and he is kind of a stoic, I suppose, where he has a lot of just common sense solutions for people's everyday problems. Anyway, it's a great book, but the whole thing sounds like your dad scolding you. It's just relentlessly punishing with common sense. Like, what are you doing? It's just, I think that's what finally broke me. I'm going to listen to some country music. I'm going to drink some whiskey. I'm going to forget about business for a while, and I'm just going to go with that.
Okay.
Right after I check out Win New Customers book, of course.
Absolutely.
So you're the head honcho over at your company. Women in tech is in news recently. Have you ever been discriminated against for being a woman, or felt any kind of certain way for being a woman in business?
That's a good question. I mean, I wouldn't say I'd been openly discriminated, but I sometimes get the feeling that it's definitely a boys' club. I mean, I don't have any evidence to support that, like, I was chosen over, because I'm a woman, but I definitely do feel like a lot of times it's a boys' club, and it's for women. It's a little harder to get into it because it's maybe the connections that guys have. But I definitely have gotten that feeling, especially I was at a conference just now called Traffic and Conversion Summit, and it's like, I don't know, it's like 75% men, if not 80% men there. And it's just like, I don't know, even going to networking events, it's like, I almost kind of felt a little bit like the odd man out.
Yeah. Odd woman out. How dare you?
Odd woman out. Yep.
But nothing specific you could point your finger at. It's just kind of a feeling. And maybe you could speak more of like what like a boys club kind of feel. What does that feel like? I'm sorry, to differentiate, do you mean within peers within your industry, or do you mean with like actual clients?
I would say with peers within my industry. Like I said, I don't have any evidence to support clients per se. All of this is kind of anecdotal and based on what I see, but I don't think anybody's going to admit to going, taking, let's say, a digital marketing expert who's a guy versus me, that's probably never going to be admitted to. So it's more just like among my peer group. And like I said, just going to networking events at this conference, it was like, everybody, like all the guys are talking to each other, and it's like a lot of times I feel like I have to be like the one pushing the conversation and coming into the conversation, even though, I'm not really that much different than everybody else who's at the networking event.
Sure.
So,
well, maybe they're looking to you for leadership.
I don't know, maybe. So, yeah, it's, I mean, it's I feel I'm grateful that there is a lot of opportunity for women, much more opportunity for women now, especially in tech. So I'm looking forward to seeing that sector grow.
You bet. What percentage of your business are women-owned companies versus male-owned companies?
Oh my goodness. Wow. That's a good question. And it's very few. Most of the clients that I have or have had have been male. I'd say there was one company where it was a husband and wife partner that ran the business. And then I had another client who the founder was a woman, but I'd say most of them are men run companies.
Yep. Interesting. And as far as your team goes, how are you sourcing talent? Which people do you hire internally and who do you contract out?
Good question. So I've used universities to hire an intern and who became actually my coordinator, my social media coordinator. So I used the University of Colorado in Boulder. They have every university has like a job board or like a career development type office. So I posted that a couple years ago and found an intern at the time. She was still in school and now she's graduated and she is my social media coordinator and does a lot of my personal social media for me. I've also gotten virtual assistants. I have currently a great virtual assistant from the Philippines that is amazing. I would highly recommend. So yeah, I would say it's been agencies abroad, like she's part of the virtual assistant in the Philippines is part of actually an agency out in the Philippines. So I've used their services also for like video editing. So yeah, I'd say service companies in the Philippines, like I said, universities here in the United States or local universities. So and then also referrals. I have part of a couple of entrepreneur groups, and if it's maybe more mid-level career type of employees that I'm looking for, I would ask for recommendations as part of from my entrepreneur groups.
Cool. Yeah, some people might not be aware of virtual assistants, particularly in the Philippines. I've used virtual assistants in the Philippines probably for 4 or 5 years, and it's an absolutely fantastic win-win situation. There's a great tool I use called onlinejobs.ph, which is where you can basically qualify virtual assistants by task. If you have a repeatable task that you're doing over and over again, there's no reason why you shouldn't be farming that out to somebody who will do it very affordably, but also with unbelievable precision. What people might not know about the Philippines, or what they might know, is that they have kind of a psychotic dictator in control right now, which is kind of unfortunate, even though he is rather popular. Well, I suppose it depends if you do drugs or not. He executes people for like opiate abuse.
Oh, wow. I was not aware of that.
Yeah, he's a complete maniac. However, there's some things that people like about him. Anyway, that aside, most areas in the Philippines are native English speakers. So as soon as they're learning their native language, they're also learning English. So they're absolutely fluent conversationally and absolutely fluent with writing. So that's a really cool resource. What task specifically are you using your virtual assistant for?
Yes. So she does a lot of the scheduling for my social media. So I post content, I'd say several times a day, both on LinkedIn and on Facebook. So she does a lot of the scheduling for me. She does some of the outreach for me. So things like for LinkedIn, if I'm trying to reach out to a certain group of people, she would she would create the initial communication and send it out. So so I use her a lot for like repetitive tasks as well. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So what does 2018 look like for you, Gene? What's your mission?
That's a good question. I am looking to expand my business and diversify my business a little bit. So, of course, I have a consulting side, as I mentioned in this episode, but I'm also looking to create an info product, a digital course, which takes everything that I've done for my private clients, the book, which is, again, just a taste of what I do, and then putting that into a full-blown training for entrepreneurs and small to medium-sized businesses who want to do it on their own. I would say it's more for like entry-level type of entrepreneurs or just maybe getting started. So it would be just videos and audios and modules that allow you to see, everything and learn about digital marketing through an info product.
Cool. Yeah, I love the scalability of courses and the whole kind of, I'm a big fan of the whole coaching paradigm. I realize that it's gotten kind of meta where you have coaches coaching coaches on how to make courses for coaches to coach coaches. I mean, it's getting pretty nuts, but
I agree.
The accountability and momentum that comes from having like a strong kind of coaching group. Do you know what I mean? And I really encourage people to find specialization. There's people that say life coach, which usually means they don't have their shit together and they probably need a life coach. But if you find someone who's like, hey, I'm a financial coach, or I'm a marketing coach, or I'm a personal trainer, or, you kind of need to build this stable of coaches and curriculums to keep your mind stimulated, but also to keep you focused on specific tasks. We live in such a crazy, scattered, distracted. I mean, it's just unprecedented how many distractions there are now. And to have a team of people like kind of keeping you on track is like ultimately very important.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's what I'm going to be working on for the beginning of 2018 and hoping to launch that middle of 2018. So that's the plan for me.
Cool. Gene, let me know and I'll help you promote that. I'd be happy to do that. Were there any questions I did not ask you, but I should have?
Oh, no, I think we're good. This was great. I think I covered a lot of the things we talked about: digital marketing, my consultancy, my book. So, I hope this was valuable for your audiences.
We hit all the beats. I know it was. Yeah. How about, what's your situation? Are you married? Are you single? Do you have kids?
No, I have no kids, but I have a boyfriend and I moved out here with him to Southern California, and I have a dog who we just got about 6 months ago, and he is going to be a year in a couple days.
What kind of dog?
He's an Australian cattle dog mix. I don't know. He's a rescue, so we're not sure exactly what he is, but looks like an Australian cattle dog mix.
He's fast, in other words.
Yes, he's very fast. So yeah, it's been really fun having him in my life. This is the first time I've ever had a dog because my sister was allergic to dogs, so I didn't have one growing up, or any pet actually growing up. So this is kind of a new experience for me.
Nice.
But always wanted a dog as an adult, so I finally got one. So and then in terms of getting a hold of me, I'd love to give my book away to your audiences. So if you go to GeneGinzburg.com/talklaunch, GeneGinzburg.com/talklaunch, you can click on that link and download the book absolutely free in PDF version and start reading it right away.
Tremendous, and I really appreciate you doing that, Gene. I know our audience is full, if not 100% full, of entrepreneurs and small business owners. Most of them central to the Denver Boulder area, but also kind of growing out exponentially from there. So thank you for doing that.
Oh yeah, I hope that the entrepreneurs who are listening to this are going to find this valuable. I mean, I think there's a lot of value in it. And if you just use one piece of information from the book that will help you grow your business, I mean, I feel like I've done my job.
Totally. Awesome, Gene. This has been fantastic. I really appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Gin Ball Digital Marketing Agency. You can go to ginball.net to learn more about those services, or go to not Audible yet.
Not yet.
But Amazon.
Yes.
Amazon search Gene Ginzburg. Win new customers. How to attract, connect, and convert more prospects into customers in 60 days using digital marketing strategies. Grab that book. It's $10 if you don't want to get it for free from the Talk Launch.
But free is always great. Yeah. If you want a physical copy, absolutely go to Amazon. But if you want a PDF copy for free, go to GeneGinzburg.com/talklaunch.
Last little question here, Gene. When do you make time to write, and where do you write?
Yes, absolutely. So besides my book, which I wrote last year, I also write for Forbes. I'm part of an entrepreneur group, and the members get featured in Forbes and other publications. So I've written for Forbes, been featured in Huffington Post. So I definitely use those. I definitely use those. Oh, hang on a second. I'm getting this on Skype.
Tell them you're busy. Like, how dare you?
I thought I said it too. We're going to have to cut that piece out.
It's your VA. They're like, oh, I can't believe you gave me a shout out. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Wow. I'm getting it everywhere. I'm going to have to like shut down Skype. Sorry about that. I'll have to. Okay, here we go. So in terms of writing, I'm part of an entrepreneur group, and we get featured if we write for the entrepreneur group, we get featured in places like Forbes. So I've written for Forbes, and I've been featured in Huffington Post. So yeah, I love writing for publications and sharing that with my social media network.
Tremendous. Gene, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much. Hold on just for a second after I sign off here, and then we'll just wrap this thing up.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It was great being a guest on the show.
You bet.
The Talklaunch podcast is brought to you by Audible. Audible is the leading source for audiobooks. Go to talklaunch.net/podcast to download 2 free audiobooks. We're also brought to you by Onnit. Onnit believes in total human optimization. Go to talklaunch.net/podcast, click the Onnit banner, save 10% on your purchase at onnit.com. Shout out to Whalehawk for the music used in this podcast.